Hello everyone. As this is going to be my 200th, can you believe it, my 200th video, I thought we'd start with this tree, which is a large-leaved lime, and it's the very first tree that I made a video of and uploaded to YouTube way back when. Our local pheasant's back, screeching and a squawking. Yeah, so this is it. I'll be making a video on this when I cut it back soon, but it's looking very different to what it did then. I had some excellent advice on where I should go with it and what I should do with it, which basically I ignored, not because I thought I knew better than them, but because I didn't really have the confidence to try it, and went in a different route. But anyway, if I'm going to get this video at a watchable length, we'll move on, because as I say, we'll come back to this tree soon enough. Okay, there's another tree here. This was another early shower, and again it's a tree that I'm going to make a video on soon. This is my Chinese elm, which I was concerned about how big the branches were in relation to the trunk. I think I'm getting that under control now, and yeah, you'll see when I make a video on that soon. It's getting a little bit unkempt. Okay, and here is the Hornbeam. That's the tanuki that was looking nice, growing healthily, and yeah, I'm a bit concerned that this side wasn't growing as well as this side. I turned the tree around, and it is beginning to catch up, so maybe it just wasn't getting enough light. Okay, so let's finish this bench before we move on to any next ones. Got a little field maple and a couple of spruces and a little elm. You see that? Yeah, pretty little elm. Okay, so what else have we got here? We've got this big bench. This was not the last bench I built. I built another one since then. A lot of my benches are getting a bit ropey. I've had them a long time, so I've started to replace some of them, repair others. So some of these trees will be familiar to you if you're a long-term subscriber. Here's the Beech Forest, growing away nicely. Obviously not going to do very much with that this year, just letting it grow and develop. Here we have the Royal Alder. I've just made a video on that. It's looking a little different the last time you saw it. And yeah, so just a selection of trees really. A Japanese maple, Orange Dream I believe that one's called. Cotoneaster in the back in flower. Haven't really done anything with that one yet. A little prunus. So, and I want to say privet, and I know it's not privet, but in my head all I can come out with is privet. They'll come back to me and I'll shout, it's not privet. Okay, so what else have we got here? We've got a little cornice, another field maple. Hopefully you'll recognise the raft here, Hornbeam raft, and Starship Voyager, which isn't a Starship Voyager at all, it's Cotoneaster, still in flower, looking quite nice I feel. Cherries and root over rock fusion projects, small ash, birch, yeah, lots of trees. Okay, so we'll keep moving on. There's the bonsai dog, who likes me to prune my trees with balls. Oh, a rubbish throw left-handed, but there you go. Okay, so here we have the last bench I built. So we have here, it's just a bunch of trees really, elms and field maples. This one is a little blackcurrant, my alders suffered with the sun, and somehow I'm miswatering these, so I've got them in a tray of water, and hopefully, well, they are beginning to revive. I can see new shoots coming, but they were very nearly an early casualty of the heat waves that hasn't even started yet. Just shows you can never be too careful. But yeah, so that's an English elm. I have a little birch. I think he's quite pretty. He's got a long way to go to be a proper bonsai, as is this hawthorn here, but yeah, you keep going and you keep trying and you strive to be better each year. A couple of little box that aren't really there yet, but are getting there. Small oak, another Japanese maple, not sure the name of that one. Little apple tree, again, you know, got a long way to go, but it's getting there. Here's the alder that I've made a couple of videos on. You can see that thriving away quite nicely, but it's in the bigger pot, so yeah, it's had more of a chance. Some more hornbeams. This is another Orange Dream Japanese maple, and that's a Konomayo, whatever it is, Japanese cherry. I've lost the label. So I've got a couple just sitting on the wall here. We have another box and another field maple and another little Chinese elm. And moving on, here we have a little European larch, and this is cobnut, hazel, a whole bunch of these. And do you know, it still hasn't come back to me what they're called. I still want to say privet. I still have that in my head from my childhood, but it will come back. Some more Japanese maples, nice little chunky field maple that hasn't featured yet, but maybe one day. Another Japanese maple, and here is the large Japanese maple that I got from Morrison's. We had that nice spell, which was when I bought it, and then we had Storm Hannah, whatever it was called, blasted through with some winds, and then we had some really cold temperatures. And although I tried to keep this one sheltered, it suffered a little, but it's not dead, and it's thrown out lots of new buds, so hopefully we'll see more of that over the years to come. And another root over rock willow, another little elm tree. So yeah, let's turn the camera off and we'll move to another bit of the garden. Okay, so here's another bench. This one's seen better days, and I have to replace it. Probably not this year. I've got others that are in more need of replacing. But yeah, just here's a willow root over rock project you should be familiar with, and the hawthorn root over rock, and the unnamed conifer. They're all growing away nicely. This is a very strange little cherry plum that I found. It almost has two trunks. Yeah, very odd, but it's a nice little tree, so keep hold. This is a little beech tree. I'm really not sure about this tree. It's looked like this for about 3 days now. It started to shoot, and then it almost seems to have arrested its development for some reason. We'll see. Okay, so you've seen this one as well if you're a subscriber. This is the Toniaster Cascade, and I'm going to have to start pruning these pads back into shape now that it's finished flowering. And another cherry plum, another Toniaster, Saguaro Cypress, apple, and here's the bold cypress. I've got it sat in a tray of water now, and it's growing away quite happily. And under this bench I have a bunch of old pots and rubbish, but also some precious little English elms that I rescued from under a hedge, another self-sown ash I believe, and a stone pine, and another couple of little elm trees. So yeah, here we have and the more I'm trying to think of the name of this tree, the more it is eluding me. But I called this, just for fun, the fountain, in that when you water from the top, the water runs down through, and then pours out here at the bottom. So yeah, it's a chunky old tree. So nice, I like it. Okay, moving across, we have the large fusion beech project, and that's growing great guns. Yeah, it's going to be a couple of years before it gains any kind of fusion, I believe, but you know, working on it. And we have also the trident maple. Is that here? Another Japanese maple. This suffered some wind damage, and this entire side had died off, unfortunately. So, but again, it's thriving and surviving. Another little goat willow, and this is my large fusion willow. Not sure how well the camera's picking up, but yeah, it's growing madly. So again, maybe not fusion this year, but maybe next. And here are my pollarded willows, and you will have seen those. And the root over rock beech, happily growing away, looking nice. Okay, so tucked down the side here, I've got a Cedrus libani and a Cedrus deodora, both of which are waiting some attention. Just happily growing away. And then next to them I've got a whole bunch of fusion projects going on, root over rock projects for the most part. There's a little downy birch root over rock fusion project, and a willow root over rock fusion project. A lot of willow fusion projects, to be honest. It being so easy to propagate from cuttings, and you know, I can just get my hands on lots and lots, which makes it good for experimenting, really. Okay, sat here on top of the pond pump, which is waiting me to put in a better place, is an unnamed conifer with several beech that have self-seeded into it. And then just here, of course, we've got the large Scots Pine in its place on the bench. Hopefully the air layer, well, ground layer, air layer, whatever the type of layer it is that I'm experimenting with this, will work this time, and I'll have a better looking tree because of it. And next to it, just a lot of trees that I'm not really doing very much with at the moment. They're growing, need weeding. I'm taking it steady walking along here because I'm trying not to fall into the pond, which is directly behind me. I've got a couple of pines, a Japanese red pine, a Japanese black pine, little larch, juniper, cascade juniper, which is I'm quite pleased with. Still got a ways to go, but getting there. This is the surviving tanuki, which is a conifer, mint something it's called, is its name. Yeah, quite pleased. Again, I'll be doing a video on this tree soon. This is a giant sequoia that I'm growing from seed. Yeah, it was last year's seed, so it's done quite well. And a couple of junipers and a pine. This is a Mugo Pine. Again, that I picked up dirt cheap because this side had completely died off. I'm always on the lookout for a bargain. I don't know what I'm going to do with this one yet. Let it grow for a little while and then figure something out. This bench is another one that needs attention. As you can see, the top is going on this one. So I'm going to have to replace, I've got some wood, so I will replace the top of this. The bottom structure seems fairly sound, so yeah, I'm going to replace the top and keep the bottom. Okay, so I'm under instructions not to show you any of the untidy bits of the garden from my wife. So obviously that would mean we couldn't do this video in the first place, so kind of ignoring that a little bit. We have a couple of large root over rock projects here, ash, and they're growing away quite nicely. And there's the cedar that I had as a Father's Day present last year, which I haven't done anything much with yet, but we'll be getting to soon. And then over on this side of the pond we have the large literati Cypress, which I've just made a video on, we'll upload in due course. A little sweet chestnut. This again I haven't done much with, it's just sat in a pot growing away. This is the field maple triple trunk fusion project. So that's doing its thing here. And then we have another fusion ash project and another English elm. And then over there in the sides of the pond we have some willows, and in particular the large fusion pollarded willow going away quite nicely. A couple of other pots there with some other fusion projects. Red beech as well, and also that's where the group planting of oaks, that I'm not sure whether it's going to be a fusion project or a forest, they're sat over there as well. So okay, so here's another bench, and this time here's my saguaro windswept tree. Got plans for that soon, and but it's growing and developing quite nicely. I'm quite pleased with it. The driftwood at the top, deadwood at the top looks nice, and so we'll carry on with that. Here we have some small ash. They're growing away quite nicely. This one seems quite happy in its new pot, so I'm pleased with that. And then of course we have the informal upright hawthorn. You will have seen if you're a long-term subscriber, I've just recently wired and pruned that, and there will be a video to come shortly. What else we got here? We have a red hazel. I don't know how successful this will be at this scale because the leaves are very big, so I may have to think about making this into a larger bonsai at some point. Another hornbeam, and honestly I don't recall whether I've ever made a video on this one or not. I think not. I think it seemed a little bit too similar to some other trees that I've got. I don't know, but yeah, there's that. Little cherry, and we have a sycamore. I really struggle with this sycamore. I love the trunk and the hollowness of it, and it looks fabulous in the winter, but the leaves don't like to shrink. I have already leaf pruned this tree because the leaves were as big as side plates and bigger than the palm of my hand, and it's beginning to throw out some smaller leaves, but it's really difficult to get to you know, a really small compact leaf on a sycamore. Keep trying, because if nothing else it looks gorgeous in the winter with this. It just makes me think of a haunted wood or something. Okay, and the octopus, there he is, back on the bench in all his glory. I can see a couple of buds coming out here and here, so that means the tennis ball pruning and didn't kill that section, which is great. And there's the not culprit, pretending his butter wouldn't melt. And then we'll go to this lower part of the garden. We have a whole bunch of new trees, well, and old trees. This is another fusion clump of ash, and behind that is a sorbus, which I've also made a video of, and that will be out shortly. I know, it's like waiting for a bus, nothing, and then everything comes at once. There'll be a glut of videos for me, you'll be sick of them. Okay, so there's another root over rock willow clump. It's always difficult, you know, when I'm doing an update I've tried to choose the same 5 trees so you can follow their development, but there's so many, that's the problem. Sometimes I think, well, that one's doing really well, I ought to show that all. But for simplicity I'm going to try and keep it to the same ones. Here's the fusion clump style ash again. Yeah, I thought we'd prune this back to 5 group because one had died and we took out the 6th and left it at 5, but that one has now died off as well, so I'm going to have to decide which of these, when I do an update on this video, one of these trunks will go. Cherry, wild cherry, it's growing quite nicely. I had a few flowers on this year, so another spruce, nothing to write home about, long way to go with this tree. Here is the fluted hornbeam in there. I'm going to have to cut this back. I've been letting it grow a bit mad, but yeah, it's still trussed up in its little medieval torture device, giving it that bend. Oh, here's the little ash that we removed from that clump, and that's becoming a nice little, or will become a nice little semi-cascade bonsai. Grey Bark Elm, you might recall, again, video just made. I've just pruned and cut this tree back hard, and yeah, that'll be out shortly. Little oak tree. The little now 3-trunked birch, downy birch, growing great guns. This side looked a bit sulky and a bit frazzled for a little while in that cold snap we had, and I was a bit worried it was going to become a double trunk, but no, it survived and it's happy and it's growing well. In the back here we have the larch, fusion twin trunk larch, which is growing away quite happily, hopefully one day to fuse. And then from that we have another willow. This was a large piece of willow that I put into a pot, and it's growing and it's developing, and one day I might even make a video about it. What else we got? Tucked on the end here we have another blackcurrant, semi-cascade blackcurrant, which is doing its very best to become a formal upright. It looked quite good when it was in flower, and we're getting some berries on it, and that's quite nice. And then in here we have another type of willow. I think this is a goat willow, and that's just a big old chunk in there. Again, maybe one day we'll make a video of that. These benches also, well, I'm going to have to do something about the legs. What happens is I got this idea from YouTube, sunk the uprights into the soil. Unfortunately they're rotting off at soil level. I've had to replace a couple, and I'll be replacing the legs before they because otherwise they just topple over. So that's going to need to be done this year, and what I've done is I've cut them down and put in a metal support, post support, and then sunk the legs back into those, and then the rest is fine. So those will be priority things to do soon. And there's a priority thing there saying, kick this ball for me. That was a rubbish kick. Anyway, this bench also needs replacing. This is just my starter trees bench really, but as I don't know if you can see, or if you think it's just the camera, the legs are going on this as well. It's just starting to lean. But here, these are trees that I've grown from seed and cuttings mainly. So we've got field maples, we've got goat willows, firethorn, not firethorn, pyracantha. We've got grey bark elm, which were grown from seed. We've got apples, which were taken from suckers. You know, some of these are going to make some interesting little trees one day. We've got Japanese larch, we've got sweet chestnut, we've got alder, we've got more willows, cotoneaster, some more of those privet things. And it's going to drive me barking mad in a minute because I cannot get that name to come out of my head. Since childhood I thought it was privet, and then someone told me no, it's not, and I realised that it wasn't. And we have a whole bunch more oaks that I've grown from acorns. Some of these are about 3 years old, so they've been pruned and pruned again, and we got some taper, and beginning to get some interesting little shapes from them. Okay, so my son's trampoline taking up all that room. We'll just move back up the garden. And your bum Cupid-doo. Again, this is where I've taken a whole load of evergreens. They like the full sun, so these are again all grown from cuttings, all these sawaras, and they're going to need working on soon because I'm missing the boat if I don't get out and root prune them soon. I've got some red pine and some black pine grown from seed, junipers, some hangers on. There's a little field maple there that's seeded itself, along with a dandelion by the look of it, a little birch tree. Okay, back up this pole. As you can see, I've replaced the metal post with that. We have my Sawara formal upright, which is, you can't see it too well because of the background, but it's growing away quite nicely. And then over here we have a tired old bench. This was one of the first benches I built, and it's just about to fall apart on me under the sheer weight of trees. So we have a cornice, which again, another video to come. Little apple tree, which has been cut back hard. And then we have some hawthorn. There's the walnut tree. Another fusion ash project in there, which maybe I'll do a video in the winter when you'll be able to see it better. Some more English elm, which again, I'm just so chuffed to get hold of some. The large informal upright green beech, some more cornice. Here we have a couple of little beech seedlings, a beech seedling, sorry. That's another apple in there, in behind this little willow forest that I've just started. This is the No Wires Fusion project birch, or one of them, growing away madly. The other one's here somewhere, but I can't actually see it. But yes, so we've got some more trees at the top. We've got some apple, and we've got some cherry. There's the other beech. The little group of cascade trees that I started. There's the fusion oak tucked in the back, and a little hawthorn, twin trunk birch. More hawthorns. There's another of the No Wire Fusion birch root over rock trees. It's going to bother me that I can't see the other one, but I know it's here somewhere. Oh, there it is. tucked in the back. So they're growing really well. So hopefully we'll have some development on them in the next year or two. In behind here, I have a growing bed of some trees I've got in the ground. So what have I got? I've got yew and red beech. I'm not going to try and bonsai the stinging nettles that are in there, honestly. We have hawthorn, we have ash, we have elm, those privet-like things, some box, some willow, some field maple, oak, some more cornus, some green beech. So yeah, all future prospects for bonsai. And then try not to make you dizzy. Last bench, this is one that I've already replaced the legs, or at least put in the metal post supports. So we have another orange tree maple, and we have little oak, cherry plum. This is another red hazel of a larger dimension, so the leaves are a better scale, so I'm pleased with that. A little apple, dawn redwood, a little twin trunk, well not a twin trunk but double tree group of hawthorn, another large alder, another fusion root over rock project. This time it's the ash that's going great guns, going to need pruning soon. Chinese elm, and of course my ginkgo. So yeah, so there we are. Now you're probably thinking to yourselves, that's enough trees for now. But over here, just sitting on the edge of the patio, we have a large horse chestnut, and I am, believe it or not, trying to do an elder. And here's the take two of the Christmas tree to bonsai tree, and another little dawn redwood, which is much happier in that bigger pot, and maybe I should have left the other one in a big pot, but you know, I've only got so much room. This is my shade house. This is where I start off all my cuttings and everything else. There's no glass in it. It's, this is the netting that builders use to catch the bricks. They, you know, put them under the scaffolding so that if anything falls, it doesn't hit the people below. So in here I've got a bunch of mess and cuttings and tools. These are some suckers from an apple tree which are growing up there. I've got a spruce that I root pruned, and a sick and tired looking red maple that I'm not sure is going to make it or not, but it's in here being mollycoddled. I've got seeds in seed trays, field maple, ash. Here's the little pine, little Mugo Pine. I'm misting this 2 or 3 times a day. And there's the saguaro cypress that I did as a cascade tree. So yeah, so that's in need of, desperate need of a tidy up. Here's the wisteria growing away quite happily, and here's a little potting bench where I tend to do work on my trees when I'm not videoing. So that almost brings us full circle back around the garden to that first ever tree, but I still have another area to show you, so we're going to do that next. Okay, so this is that area. Every house has one where, you know, we keep the wheelie bin and the recycling bin and things. I've just built a new bench out here for a whole bunch more of my trees. Again, this is all stuff that I've grown from seed. So we've got some, you know, some Japanese maples that I've grown from seed. There's a Japanese maple in the back that another Japanese maple I bought from Morrison's, so I went back and got some more. And one right at the very end over there. But the rest are all grown from seed and or cuttings. So this is where I have lots of field maples. I'm sorry if I'm making this a bit too wobbly. So yes, there's a little twin trunk field maple. Just reach in, see what I find. As you can see, they've been grown, cut back, grown again. They all have some potential. I sometimes do think I do have a sickness. Lots of ash. Ash seeds are easy to get hold of. And we have birch and box, some elm, Chinese elm in this case, hawthorn, and hornbeam. So red light's flashing, battery's about to die. So I'm going to say thank you all for watching. Take care of yourselves.